Welcome my constant reader friends. I'm Tad and this is Tad Reads Books and Stuff. Alright, so for this video, we're just going to do a quick update of my reading progress so far in March, and we'll talk about Creepshow by Stephen King. So first off, I did finish Creepshow. Just a quick, 5 stories, short stories. Comic book. Here's the back picture, great picture of Steven on the back there. We're going to talk about this more in detail. I finished that. Part of my Shorty King project. To go along with my Shorty King project, we are reading the Bachman books. 4 novels, of course, by Stephen King, written under the name Richard Bachman. I have finished Rage and The Long Walk, so we're halfway through this. We are on Roadwork, so 322 pages down. We'll probably be talking about this book in my next video, next week's video. I am also in, of course, I'm finally reading Robert E. Howard's The Bron McMorn, Last King. Now, this book, even though I'm only, 50, 60 pages through, it's not really a long book. It's not as long as it looks. Total pages 365 pages. But really, this whole back portion of the book is mostly letters and bibliography. There's some pictures. Short little asides, things like that. It's really just a big appendix, fragments, they call it, but the actual story portion of the book is only about 200 pages. So we'll get that finished. We'll talk about that probably in 2 weeks. And by that time, I will have finished Leviathan Falls, which of course is the last book in the series. Number 9. Of the Expanse series. Finally, we're going to finish that. So we'll probably be into April when I go through this, because I want to talk about this book and, of course, the last short story that goes along with this time period in Memories Legion. We'll talk about both of those, and I'll probably do a full overview of the whole series and what my thoughts are on the whole series. So that's where we are. So let's move on. Let's get back to this. So in my Shorty King project, this was the next kind of compilation. Really, it's the Bachman books. But, this is 5 stories. It is a compilation, really, right? It's a comic book. But what is it really? So let's get the numbers out of the way first. It was originally published in August of 1982. Good year. The page count in this is 62 pages is what I count. They don't number the pages in here. 64 if you count the title page, which is pretty cool. So 62 pages. The Goodreads, on Goodreads currently it's 4.07. I think 4 is very respectable for this. It's a quick read, of course, comic book. Short comic book at that, and I gave it a 4. Actually, I enjoyed it. It's not my first time reading it, of course, but what is it? Stephen King writing these short episodes that were made into a movie by George A. Romero, of course, of the zombie movie fame. So it was a film originally, and then it was made into a comic book. Of course, the art is by Berni Wrightson. If you're not familiar with Berni Wrightson's work, he is probably one of my all-time favorite comic book artists. Of course, unfortunately, he has passed away. He's no longer with us, but the artwork is amazing in this book. The cover, though, was by Jack Kamen. I like the cover. It's got this little kid reading Creepshow, the comic book, with a hysterical look on his face. And it's cool. You've got Dawn of the Dead poster up here. Of course, a movie by George A. Romero. And a Shining poster on his wall. Of course, a novel and movie by Stephen King. So that's where we start off. We've got this creepy looking dude over here, which of course will bring back memories of Tales from the Crypt. I think that this is really a pastiche, if you will, of Tales from the Crypt. It's also an homage to the old EC comics that Stephen King grew up reading and loving when he was a kid. The EC comics, if you remember, were the horror type stories, the horror type comics back in the day. And Stephen King loved them. So this is kind of an homage to that time period and those type of books that he grew up with reading. So what did they do in here? It's really kind of cool. The comic book, so unfortunately mine is the 7th printing of this. The vast majority of my Stephen King books in my collection are first. However, I can't find a first of this for any price. This was 7, and I didn't purchase this until years after I saw the movie, actually. So it's not a first, unfortunately. But anyways, if you see here, we start off with Father's Day. Now, it's pretty cool because the movie was already done when they made the comic, and they do make a concerted effort to try to draw the characters similar to the actual actors that played in each episode of the book. So Father's Day is the beginning one, and of course we have our crypt keeper basically up here, and he goes through the whole movie talking about, giving little funny things. He's kind of funny. He thinks he's funny. But anyways, we start off here on Father's Day. Father's Day is cool. So first, Carrie Nye plays the role of Sylvia Grantham. This is Sylvia right here. So she's the old dame of the house right now. Then we have Ed Harris. Ed Harris plays Hank Blaine, which you can't really see him very well here, but this is Hank here. Elizabeth Regan, she plays Cass. Cass was right here. They're a husband and wife. This guy is played by Warner Shook, and that's Richard Grantham. So you got the family sitting here, and it's Father's Day. And they're talking about the past, and they're talking about this character here. This is Bedelia Grantham, and she's played by Vivica Linsfors. She actually is a sister of Sylvia Grantham, played by Carrie Nye. And she's kind of crazy. You can see she's drinking straight from a bottle of liquor. She's coming to pay her respects to their dear old father who had passed away on Father's Day. Why? Because Bedelia killed him with an ashtray. So she's kind of old, senile, crazy, drunkard, but she's coming to pay her respects at the grave of the father, who is Nathan Grantham. Yeah. And of course, horror ensues from there on. She killed him. She hit him with a big green glass ashtray. Yeah, killed him on Father's Day. All he wanted was his cake. Please bring me my cake. Well, she goes to the grave to pay her last respects, and guess what? Yep, he comes back to life. Now, cool thing is the corpse of Nathan Grantham was played by John Amplas. So it's kind of funny. John Lormer plays Nathan Grantham, and then John Amplas plays the corpse. So, of course, horror ensues from there, and he takes his revenge on everybody in the family. Cool story. Again, short, to the point, fun, nothing fantastic, nothing great to see here. And then we go into the next one, The Lonesome Death of Shorty Verrill. Cool colors. I love the color palette that the artist Berni Wrightson chooses for these individual stories that he's telling. Really cool. I love the 3D effect on the title page here. Let's go on to this. All right, so in The Lonesome Death of Shorty Verrill, we have the appearance in the movie of Stephen King. You know, Stephen King loves to have his little cameos in his movies. This one he actually plays a full part, and he plays Shorty. And you can see again that, I mean, the artist makes an effort to kind of make the characters look similar to the actor playing the part. This is a very starkly casted portion of this movie. There's really only two people in the show. There's, of course, Stephen King playing Shorty, and then there's Bingo O'Malley. He plays Shorty's father and his doctor, his physician. He finds an asteroid that hits Earth, and unfortunately he breaks it open and goo runs out from inside, and he touches it, and it starts to really affect him, not in a good way. You can see here there's some green stuff growing out of his mouth, and it starts growing on every surface he touches. It's on his arms. He's turning into, yeah, it kind of looks like the Swamp Thing, which also Berni Wrightson drew. So that's kind of cool, and you can see how it ends at the end. It's a very short story. This asteroid has some strange, I don't know, bacteria, some strange growth that affects everything. And at the end, you see it's covered the whole house. It's covered the sign. It's spreading now. Is it going to take over the whole planet? Who knows? It's a very short story. Stephen King, it's fun. All of these are just fun, really. They're just hearkening back to the days, you know, of the EC comics. All right. We quickly move into The Crate. This is a fun one. This one probably has the biggest cast of characters involved in it, and probably the longest portion of the movie. And so, let's talk about The Crate. All right, so in The Crate, like I said, this probably is the biggest production value of the whole movie. There are a lot more actors in this one. I'm not going to hit all of them. I'm just going to hit, you know, the major ones in this story. Of course, it starts right out here. You know, we've got our MC talking up here, trying to be funny again. But it opens with this picture of, so this is Don Kiefer, and he's playing the part of Mike the janitor. So Mike the janitor is, well, he's supposed to be janitoring, but it looks like he's flipping a coin, and the coin falls and rolls under the stairs through these grates. What is under there? Is something under there, and these grates are keeping it in, maybe? I don't know. But he will go and try to find his coin and look through there and find the crate. So he decides that he's going to call the professor. And the professor that he calls is Fritz Weaver. Fritz Weaver is the actor that plays Dexter Stanley. So this is Dexter Stanley here and here. So that's the actor Fritz Weaver, and he's talking with Hal Holbrook. Yeah, Hal Holbrook is Henry Northrop. He's another professor at the college. And the story really revolves around Hal Holbrook and his marriage to Adrienne Barbeau. Yes, Adrienne Barbeau plays his wife Wilma, or everyone knows as Billy Northup. So there's your four characters there. Mike calls and talks to Dexter Stanley, says, I found this crate. It's got some strange markings on it. Looks like it says Arctic Expedition 1834. How has no one seen this hidden underneath these stairs behind this grate for many years? Apparently, is it, is it being trapped in there? Is it being held in there? Why has nobody noticed this? I don't know. But anyways, he calls Stanley, and Stanley wants to go and see what's going on. Of course, you've got the problem with Adrienne Barbeau, who thinks that her husband, played by Hal Holbrook, is an idiot, and she's just boisterous and loud and a floozy and a drunkard. She's causing problems at this party that they're all at. And Hal is pretty much done with it. He does not love his wife anymore. So anyway, Stanley leaves the party, and he goes and he meets up with Mike, the janitor, and they pull out this crate. They get through the grate. They pull out the crate. They set it up. It's got chains on it. They break through the chains, open it up, see what's going to happen, what's in it. Ooh, you can kind of see. Can you kind of see that? Those little eyes sneaking out there. Yep, there's a monster in there. Been in there the whole time. And in the credits, this is Fluffy. Now, Fluffy was played by Daryl, I want to say his name right. Ferrucci? Daryl Ferrucci plays Fluffy, but he was uncredited in the movie. It's just another scare you see. So, when their backs are turned, Fluffy grabs a hold of Mike. Poor Mike, the janitor, of course. He's like a red shirt. He's going to die first. Sucks him up into the box and eats him whole. While Stanley just stares there, stands there staring and screaming, oh my God, I'm going to be sick. Yeah. He runs out into the hallway, and he runs into Charlie. Oh my God, poor Charlie. So Charlie is another throwaway character played by Robert Harper in the movie. And he's Charlie Garrison. He says, help me, Charlie. We're going to go in, and Charlie sees the blood and everything on the floor. They're going to put the box back underneath the stairs. They put it back underneath the stairs. Of course, Fluffy comes out. And what does Fluffy do? He immediately eats Charlie Garrison. Great. So, Stanley needs help. Stanley decides to call. Look at this. Charlie's trying to get away. Fluffy grabs him. Yeah. Stanley just kind of watches. So anyways, Stanley calls Hal Holbrook, Henry Northup, and says, I need some help, blah, 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 with this creature. Hal has some daydreams of shooting his wife and getting rid of her. What's going to happen? They go down. They decide they're going to give Fluffy another meal. He calls his wife down, Adrienne Barbeau. She, of course, is a total bitch to him. And he gets her to crawl underneath the stairs. And Fluffy comes out and eats her as well. Henry Northup and Dexter Stanley decide, the only thing we can do is try to, get a chain back on this box. We're going to move the monster. We're going to clean everything up. We're not going to say anything to anybody about Mike, Charlie, Billy, and we're going to go dump it in the ocean. So that's what they do. They dump it in the ocean. Now it's on the bottom of the ocean floor, and look, well, it's not dead. I don't think anything's going to kill Fluffy. And that's the end. Again, down and dirty, quick, fun, nothing major in any of this writing. It's just a fun comic book. Next, something to die to. Let me say that again. Next, something to tide you over. What's this going to be? Oh, look at this. We open up with a guy buried to his neck. Who's that? That's Ted Danson. Yep, this is Ted Danson. And what is it? Well, why is he buried to his neck in the sand? All right, so Ted Danson, or Harry Wentworth, is buried up to his neck in the sand because he's been having an affair with Richard Vickers' wife. Richard Vickers is played by Leslie Nielsen. Yep. So Leslie Nielsen finds out, or Richard Vickers finds out, that Harry Wentworth, Ted Danson, is having an affair with his wife, Becky. Becky Vickers is played by Galen Ross. We haven't seen her yet. But anyways, he's decided to bury him to the neck on the beach with the tide coming in. But he sets up a TV because he wants Harry to watch as his wife, Becky, drowns. So he has done the same thing to his wife, Becky, but he has buried her in a different part of the beach, closer to the water, so that Harry Wentworth can actually watch her as the tide comes in and kills her, drowns her. And then very shortly after that, the tide will come in and drown Harry as well. So that's the storyline. And then, of course, he drowns. Yep, poor Ted Danson. But in perfect horror, EC Comics, Stephen King fashion, that's not the end. We see Leslie Nielsen at his home. He had these TVs set up so he could watch them as they died. Pretty sick, but hey, that's what happens when you cheat, right? I don't know. Anyways, while he's doing that, he's watching, he hears something on the TV. This is kind of cool. So if you watch the movie, you might be able to tell who it is. It's uncredited in the movie, but I think it's pretty cool. The voice on the TV, you only hear the voice, is played by Richard Gere. I thought that was pretty interesting. But anyways, in perfect fashion, yep, they come back to life. And they're going to come and get Leslie Nielsen character, Richard Vickers, and make sure he doesn't get away with this dastardly crime. What do? Of course, they bury him up to his neck in the sand as well. Cool story. I love it. I think it's fun. Great actors. Ted Danson, Leslie Nielsen, Galen Ross, Richard Gere, all in that one little short story. It's fun. Last but not least, they're creeping up on you. Yes, this one is very near and dear to my heart because this is what I do for a living. I kill bugs. The old-fashioned term exterminator. Well, I used to kill bugs. Now I'm a sales inspector, and I actually get other people to kill the bugs for me. But I did for years. Anyways, let's get into this one. And once again, of course, we have our narrator up here trying to be funny. And we open up with this guy here, and he's spraying a roach. He's in his Richie Rich apartment, and he's a bugaphobe. It's played by E.G. Marshall. I love E.G. Marshall. I'm a big fan of old-time radio, so is Stephen King. And sometimes when I don't feel good and I just need something to relax, I listen to suspense or mystery theater or, something like that. And E.G. Marshall was the voice of, I believe was mystery theater or I should have looked it up. But anyways, that's where I always knew E.G. Marshall from, and then some bit parts that he's played in movies. He's pretty cool. Anyways, so it's E.G. Marshall, and he's playing the part of Upson Pratt, who is the owner, CEO of a venture capitalist company that just buys up other companies and destroys them, of course. And he's up in his apartment in the city, and he's got a problem with, I don't know if you can see that, with roaches. And he doesn't like these little bugs. Now, E.G. Marshall and David Early, as Mr. White, which we'll see next, are the only people in this in the movie, the only physical actors. There's a lot of voices because he talks to people on the phone. And here you go. Here's kind of a picture. He's looking through a peephole of his door at David Early or Mr. White. And Mr. White plays the superintendent, you know, the caretaker of this huge skyscraper where Upson Pratt lives. And he's complaining to him about these bugs. In the meantime, he gets a call from one of his employees telling him that a Mr. Kastenmeyer had just committed suicide. He was the owner of a business, a company that they took over. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care that this guy committed suicide because he finally, you know, he got beaten down and lost his life, his business that he started from scratch. But anyways, there's other voices in this that he talks to on the phone. So he talks to Carl Reynolds, and that is played. It's funny, in the movie, anything that isn't an actual actor on screen goes uncredited. So these voices, like Richard Gere, are uncredited in the movie. Even like the actors that play the monsters in this movie are uncredited as well, which is kind of crappy, I think. But everyone knows it. I mean, you can do the research and find out who they are. So Carl Reynolds, the employee, he's played by Mark Trino. Later on, he gets a call from the despondent wife of the Kastenmeyer that just killed himself, and the voice is done by Anne Muffley. So she plays Lenora Kastenmeyer. She is bitching out Upson Pratt because you're a murderer. You killed my husband. He didn't give a crap about her. And then later on, there's another person, Bob Bean, he talks to on the phone. And Bob Bean is played by, uncredited, Ned Beatty. Pretty cool. But you can see, look at these. The roaches are just coming and coming and coming. And they're going to just kill him. He's an asshole. He's a jerk. He doesn't care about anybody else. He's deathly afraid of roaches and insects. And look at them. They're just gonna destroy him. He doesn't care about anybody else. He just wants an exterminator there. They're not getting there. Then at the end, of course, yeah, the roaches take him out. Interesting. Cool little story. Again, kind of dear to my heart because of what I do for a living. But, and then we end, of course, with the Crypt Keeper. And that's it. Creepshow. Pretty cool little book. Why would you want it? Well, if you're a constant reader and you're a collector of Stephen King, you have to have this. Believe me. But why would you keep it? Why would you enjoy it? I think you're going to enjoy it more for the artwork. Again, Berni Wrightson is the artwork in here, I think, is amazing. His choice of color and inking, shadows, shades is really the highlight of this book. That's why you want this book. Again, it's a Stephen King book, but it's not anything special. They're very short stories. Again, I think more of a pastiche of Tales from the Crypt, and of course an honorarium to the old EC Comics. I don't know how he got George A. Romero to make the film, but he did, and it all works. I would go ahead and get this, read it, enjoy it, watch the movie. You know, it's not the greatest movie. Again, the whole thing, the whole package, the movie, the book are just fun. So, I suggest you get it. I had fun with it, and I hope you all had fun with it. Again, if you like anything in my video, you find any entertaining value, please like, subscribe, and leave tons of comments. You know I love the comments. And until next time, peace out.